Hello there everyone, welcome back to another tutorial. My name is Lord Bud, and today we're going to be looking at making some of these. These are going to be farms for twisting vines and weeping vines, the two new nether vines. And these simple farms actually work very well. You can see this one starting to work. Now, there are two different ways that you can do these. The first is just by letting them grow, and they will grow on any block, doesn't have to be nylium, and they will grow in the overworld, part of the reason why I built it here in the overworld. That in the nether is very dark and hard to see. But another way is by very easily having a trapdoor here instead of a block. You can just use bone meal and make ludicrous amounts. Obviously, this was partially done beforehand. I'm going to be building both of these. There will be time cards right here on screen and in the description. Go ahead and check those out. Also, very quickly, this month is tutorial month. I'm going to be making all sorts of tutorials, so if you have a tutorial you want to see, go ahead and leave that down in the comments below, and I'm going to go ahead and make it. I will make it. I will. Unless it's something really, really complicated that I can't figure out. But I will do my best. Also, another thing very quickly is to go ahead and leave a like on this video. Ha ha ha. See what I did there? Okay, right here in my hotbar is everything that you're going to need to build the twisting vine farm in exact quantities, except the first one is an iron block. That can be any block, and the glass, that is optional. All of them are in exact quantities except the building blocks, which can be any building block, and that just is however many you want to use for it. I think maximum you need like 2. But that's if you don't mind your vines flying everywhere. Anyway, let's get into the build. We'll build it over here. First, you're going to start with a chest, and then you're going to have a hopper leading into it, or you can have it going into it on top. Any side, it doesn't actually matter. I'm just going to build it on top, because that's what I want to do. But as I said, it doesn't matter. And then you're going to have a rail. Then we're going to have a hopper minecart. Now, above the hopper minecart, you're going to have a block. So technically, these are temporary. Personally, I like to have one at least here and at least a block here, so I know this hopper minecart isn't going to go away. The reason we have a hopper minecart there is because we need to have a block here for the stem to grow off of. This can be any. You can use the nylium if you like the aesthetic or anything, but it doesn't matter. It can be any block here. I use iron and it was growing just fine, but basically any items that land on this block are going to get sucked up by this and go down into the chest. So that's how that works. So now we're going to go behind it. We're going to have at least one block. This can be an air block if you like. Personally, I don't want my vines going everywhere. It defeats the purpose of this system here. So a block here, and then you're going to go ahead and put a piston. And then behind this piston is going to be a block and an observer like this. So the face is right above the piston. Behind that observer, you're going to put one piece of redstone dust. It should look like a line. So basically, whenever the observer gets a update, i.e. whenever a block's in front of it, it's going to do that. It's going to see that update. It's going to power this redstone, which is going to power the piston. I believe this works in both Bedrock and Java, but I'm in Java right now, so I wouldn't know. And then that's technically the farm as it stands. If I wanted, I could go ahead and put my warped vine there, and I could just do that, and there we go. Two twisting vines. The only thing is, they went everywhere, so these optional, but definitely recommended blocks going up the side. And like that, and then cap it off with whatever you want. Personally, I like to use glass here, so that way I can see what's going on in the farm. And I personally like to put a trapdoor here, So that way, if I want, I can put bone meal there. But if not, I can just leave it and let it grow. Come down here, we should see we have some vines there. So yeah, that's how that works. And now we're going to work on the other farm. Okay, so now we're going to make the Weeping Vine farm, which is very, very similar. So on my hotbar here, we have exact quantities for everything, fancy enough, except these iron blocks don't have to be iron blocks. They can be any block, and technically you don't need that many. They're just building blocks. You can use as many as you want. The minimum you can get away with is 2, but we're going to be using a much more. These glass blocks don't really have to be glass blocks. They're completely unnecessary. I just like to see stuff, so we have glass. You'll see why in a minute. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with a chest. Place your chest wherever you want the bottom of the farm to be. Now get a hopper and place it in any direction on the chest. In this example, I'm going to place it on top, but you can do it in any side you want, except underneath, because then stuff would exit the chest instead of enter the chest, and that's not what we're going for here. So now we're going to put a, I guess, temporary block here, and a temporary block here. Now we're going to go and we're going to put a piston like this, and then we're going to put an observer above it facing this way, so that way the observer is like the face part is on the side as the piston. On the piston we're going to put a block, and on that block we're going to put a piece of redstone dust. It should look like a line. If it's not a line, then you're doing it wrong. Now on the top of the observer we're going to put a block. This can be temporary, and on that block we're going to put a permanent block. You can make it up higher if you want, but it's not that's not really necessary. Now on here we're going to place a weeping vine on the bottom of this block here, and the piston should fire. That means you've actually built it properly. So whenever this grows, it's going to push the piston, so we can grow it, and there we go. We can look at our chest, and there we are. Weeping vines, and the same for twisting vines. They only actually drop themselves 33% of the time, unless you're using a fortune tool, a silk touch tool, or shears. So technically this isn't max efficiency, but it's definitely better than nothing. So this can grow naturally, or you can bone meal it. But what if we're bone milling it really quickly and all of these fall on the floor? Well, that's where the next part comes in, the optional part. With all these blocks, it's basically just to go like this, because you know that's actually pretty optional. And then personally, I prefer to make the front out of glass so I can see in. But again, that's optional. I also like to put a trapdoor here so I can close it and open it if I want to bone meal it, or if I want to let it grow on its own. And there we go. Perfect. Okay, so now both of these farms are actually tileable, and I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that now. The way you tile them is exactly the same. First, you go ahead by taking off the side, if you put a side on it. Hopefully you did. And then you go and you take this here, and you copy it. So if I want to add just one extra layer to it, I'm going to go ahead and put an observer like this. I'm going to put a piston like this. I'm going to put a block here. I'm going to put a piece of redstone dust right on top of it. I'm going to go ahead and do this, and I'm going to put a weeping vine on it. So now I can do that. Now tiling it is a little bit more for the gonna just let it grow, but you can go ahead and just string your hoppers into there, and this can go on pretty much infinitely. Yeah, it'll go on infinitely. There'll be a point where some pistons down the line won't fire, because if you notice all these pistons fire at the same time, that's because when I do this, it lights up the whole thing. So if you just make this infinitely long, you're going to get to a point where the signal is going to die off, but it'll be okay, because once one of them grows on that side to the point to where it actually needs to be broken, it's going to power that part because of its observer. So that, I hope that makes sense. Now there's a thing you can do over on the Twisting Vine farm that is kind of a life hack. So obviously we have this hopper minecart here. A thing you can do to make your life a little bit easier and not have to have like a million hoppers and a million hopper minecarts is maybe only have like 2 or 3 hoppers, you know, however many you want. And then if you go like, just put regular blocks here and go like that, put regular blocks like here and just go like that, and then get powered rails along with your regular rails, and then just, you know, place them like this to where they're facing into a wall, and then just power them somehow with a lever or something. And then you can actually tell this minecart to go and take a bit of a ride. So it's just going to go back and forth, which is great. So now, the way we tile this one, aside from that, which is totally optional, but it's like a million years cheaper, we're going to do like we did with this one, where we just copied it. And we're going to copy here. We're going to, you know, put some blocks like that, put our piston, put our observer, put our redstone dust, you know, the whole shebang. Go like this, put that boy there, and then when we bone meal it, we should see the entire thing kind of going off. This one you really need to put a roof on it, or else you're gonna have messy stuff like that. And if we just, for example, go like this, so our, you know, our rail line's totally overkill at this point. But we'll see if we go like this. The hopper minecart is going to pick it up, and whenever it goes over these hoppers, it's going to put them in. Whenever it goes over, it's going to put one in there. And that's basically how that works. Well, anyway, that's actually the end of today's tutorial. I hope you learned something. I hope you have a bunch of vines now, because, you know, of course, I sure do. Here in this world, I don't want to screw that up. Yeah. These are actually working really great. They're actually working on their own without me having to bone meal them. Those chests over there, for the ones that I used in the example, actually have a good amount aside from what I bone mealed up. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd ask you to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps me out a little bit. And of course, this month is tutorial month, and if you have a suggestion for a tutorial you would like to see, of course go leave that in the comments below. I'm gonna try and do as many suggestions as I get, unless you guys suggest stuff that is super complicated, and then I will definitely go ahead and link you over to a smart person's channel. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. An extra special thank you if you watched it this far. And until next time, this has been Lord Bud. Goodbye, everyone.